let's talk about Greenland. Incredible story. And I want to start with this question, gentlemen. If you were building an AI Danish member of the European Parliament, would you give him a beard? If it's a man, would you give him a beard? It's just like with AI, say, would you give him
A
a
blonde
beard?
one. Only a
Okay,
blonde
Yeah.
one.
you give him a beard. Well, and if you said he's going to appear on cable news in the United States, would you put him in a turtleneck and a blazer? Is that how
I
you
think
dress
you,
him?
I think you
Yeah.
and I were looking at the same person
Yeah.
earlier.
All right.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the Europeans are up in arms. Again, that's incredible irony at a moment when Kushner and Witkoff are in Paris meeting with NATO leaders and finding common cause on building a security structure for one of the two big pieces pending in the Ukraine matter, along with territorial questions. What kind of security guarantees will the Ukrainians get? Great progress there. And at the same time, the President of the United States in the White House last night putting out this provocative statement saying the president might use military force to take Greenland. In the midst of all this, CNN books Mr. Vistisen. Anders Vistisen. Here he is on CNN this morning saying he will not be bullied along with his European
Marco
compatriots.
Rubio downplaying to lawmakers that the threat of military action, saying that the White House, the administration is considering buying Greenland. Does that feel reassuring to you at all?
No, I think it's a signal that the Danish government has not communicated amply clearly to the U.S. administration that the time where powers can buy and sell former colonies, self-governing territories is long gone. It is not something that is feasible. It's not something that can be done. And it's not something that is realistic in any way or form. And to be frank, I think we in Denmark are quite fed up with this attitude from the U.S. administration. And the clear message is that it's not for sale. It's not something you can negotiate about. And you're not going to be able to pressure or bully us
freeze him
into
when he ends.
submission on this.
Freeze him when he ends. He will not be bullied into submission. Matt, is that beard light enough for you, or is it a little darker than you would do?
Gotta go darker. Gotta go darker. And that's not a
Oh,
flattering
darker.
angle, too. He needs to go a little higher on that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
needed.
Gotta go a little higher. Yeah.
Anders. Anyway, take Anders down. As was alluded to there, Secretary Rubio says we're not going to invade a NATO ally's territory. We're just going to use that as leverage. Leverage, his favorite word now, to force a sale. We want to get the Russians and the Chinese out of Greenland. We want to get their rare earth minerals, although they have less than we do, according to a chart I saw this morning. And we want our sphere of influence. It's in our hemisphere. Haima, where is this going? Here's a BBC headline: U.S. discussing options to acquire Greenland, including use of military. That was an incredibly provocative statement the White House put out last night from Caroline Leavitt. But they're not going to use military force. Haima, where are we headed on Greenland?
Look, I don't put anything past President Trump at this point. And what I've been telling Democrats for the last 2 years, if the president says something, we've got to believe him to a certain extent. And so I think he's going to do everything he can to acquire or to ruffle feathers in Europe and bring Greenland as close as possible. I think what's been the issue with President Trump over the last 12 months is, under the umbrella of America First, some of these things may sound, pretty fine or even good. But there doesn't seem to be a grand plan to bring all of this together. It doesn't seem like he has a vision, or Stephen Miller, President Miller, or Council Miller, whatever we're calling
Prime
him
Minister,
now.
Prime Minister, or Chancellor.
Prime Minister
Or
Stephen
Chancellor.
Miller, Chancellor. Yeah, doesn't seem like they have a vision for this and a big plan. So what we're doing is we're alienating these European allies at a time that is not advantageous for us. And we have Russia and China. Those two adversaries are growing stronger every day, particularly China. And so I think the president's got to be a little bit more forward thinking, Stephen Miller, and think past just this term, past just this year. And then maybe we can have that conversation. But I think as it stands, they're going to do everything that they can to acquire Greenland. And we ought to take it seriously.
Matt Gorman, the Thune, Speaker Johnson, Rich Lowry, many people in the president's orbit, pundits and members of Congress are like, no, we're not going to invade. I mean, the Danes and the Europeans can have their hair on fire and their panties in a wad over this, but this is just leverage, and shouldn't they just be negotiating for the best deal they can get?
they're doing us such a favor by freaking out over this and thinking, whether it's Democrats, whether it's Europeans, thinking we're all going to roll in like Patton into Greenland. I don't have kids, but I've been around them enough that the parents out there, like, you ever have kids, and the hardest part is, like, I'm making this up. If you count, like, don't make me count to three, because on three there's going to be real consequences here. And the hardest thing is, if I've seen this, if the kids don't take you seriously, they know you're full of it, and they know you're going to get to three, nothing's going to really happen. So you're like, by the Democrats and Europeans freaking out about thinking we're going to actually military invade Greenland, it just helps our positioning so much because it convinces people that we're actually going to do it.
Yeah.
And so, like, the worst thing in the world would be if we posture and say, "Hey, look, we essentially want to cut a deal for Greenland." Let's be honest. We want to cut a deal with Greenland, sharing rare earths, like we tried to do this in Ukraine. Like, we want to pull certain levers to make sure the Russians and Chinese are out, and we can get it. But the fact that they're helping our leverage in this, thank you. Please keep it out.
Three things in response to that. Number one, all over Washington now, there's a text chain of Matt Gorman's male and female friends saying, "Can you believe Matt Gorman's telling a story about how to behave with children?" Like, nobody can believe it. Number two, I couldn't agree with you more. They should be laughing at this. They should be saying a NATO country is not going to invade a NATO country and laughing it off. But number three, I'll say, the president, if people don't think the president's serious about controlling the entire hemisphere, they're not paying attention. He's determined to do it.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.